a student in Cherry class at the moment, and myself, Mrs. Marks. So here we go. Bear with me. Excellent. Can you all see the PowerPoint presentation? Excellent. Okay, so just a couple of things. Some of you, or most of you, will probably know most of this, but it's a couple of strategies that we find that work really well in the classroom. So we just wanted to share them with you, really. On talking with some of our parents, some of the key things that are coming through are that children are struggling to focus at home for any period of time. I've got a couple of nods going on there. Children are saying that they don't want to do the work or it's boring. Children are saying that the work is too hard for them and they don't know how to do it. And they're saying that they can't write the words and they don't know how to do it. So I can see from the expressions on some of your faces that these are common things that you're seeing at home. So we're just going to give you some strategies to support you with that. Can't guarantee it will wave a magic wand and make it all right, but it might help a little bit and give you a bit more of an easy time of it at home. So some of the things with regards to the behaviour, there are a number of strategies that we use to support children. And obviously just to keep in mind that this is a challenging time for them. As adults, we're struggling. So the children being sort of 4 and 5, they are going to be finding it incredibly difficult to suddenly be seeing their friends via Zoom. And the ones that are in the classroom, they're going to be struggling because obviously it's a very different type of environment that they're going to be in. So just sort of, it's a balancing act. So just be very much aware of that and make sure there's plenty of time to discover. I will come up to the discovering part of things a bit later on through the presentation. So a couple of things that we do for behaviour management in the classroom. Timers are really, really good tools to support children with small chunks of time to do the work. So start maybe at 5 minutes and then extend that slowly as you're going on. Timers can be anything from egg timers to an alarm on your clock, anything like that will support the children. Oh, we've got somebody else coming in the waiting room. There we go. So just be aware, please, that the timers are fantastic opportunities for you to use to engage the children. Now and next, that's the language that we use in school. Now and next, first and then. So it's basically giving them a task and saying, right, first you're going to do this, then we can do that. And it's very, very clear cut for the children. And it does work quite well within the classroom. Sticker charts, you can never go wrong with a sticker chart with children of this age. It might be that you build up to a bigger reward. That's entirely your call within your house. I know Mrs. Cullen uses a marble jar in her classroom, and they have to basically fill the jar up and then they get a treat. We do raffle tickets in Cherry class. It's completely up to you, but the children absolutely love it, and the rewards don't have to cost anything. It could be that we're going to go for a special walk and go and jump in muddy puddles. Anything like that will support the children. Key times of the day. We found our curriculum timetable had to change at school because children were just too tired at certain points of the day, and to get them to sit down and do their writing at that point was really hard work because they just weren't at that point. They weren't ready for it. So pick your times of the day. You know your children better than anybody else. Ensure they've got a really nice, comfortable place to work with no distractions, tablets, obviously apart from the Zoom calls, televisions and things like that, and make sure that they've got some drinks and some snacks and that they're not too tired. So it's the basic things that you're all doing as parents, but the things that I would say first and foremost are the timer and the now and next strategy. They should hopefully help quite a lot. So let me just pop onto this one. So what is discovery time? I mentioned that a moment ago. In early years, a lot of people think we just play and, it's painting and, you just babysit the children. It's not. The children learn so much through discovery time. We don't just play, we do discover. And that's why we actually changed it from child initiated learning to discovery time. They make the most wonderful discoveries when they're playing with high quality toys and resources. High quality, again, doesn't necessarily mean high cost plastic items. In fact, actually, it usually means the complete opposite. The children make links with the world around them. Bear with me a second, I'm just going to admit a couple of more people. There we go. So children do make links with the world around them. They draw on their previous learning and they explore new concepts. Some of the things that have really helped us in the early years is doing things like having loose parts. It might be buttons, it might be cotton reels, it might be spoons, forks, it doesn't have to be expensive things, but that can help with accounting, it can help with construction. All of those things that you've got in your house around you are resources that children will use to support their learning. So here we go. So again, what toys can support the learning? We've got pots and pans. The children do love a nice pot and pan. And other containers, bottles, jugs, and they're really good. We're going to touch upon capacity in a few weeks' time. So things like water, rice, pasta, talking about whether it's full, whether it's empty, all of that, rather than worksheets all the time. That is absolutely fine as well. Paintbrushes and water is a great opportunity for mark making. Real life toys. The children don't want the plastic stuff. They usually want the real calculators, the real scales, and the real mobile phones. And obviously bric-a-brac as well as loose parts. So the children, as I said before, can count them, they can build with them, they can fill them, they can print with them. There's all sorts. It's completely child-led, which is the most wonderful thing that they can be doing. So these are just a few of the suggestions, but there are loads and loads of examples. If you type in online curiosity approach learning, there are absolutely gallons of resources that you can use to support the learning. And they give high results and they don't cost anything to do. I got a load of wooden spoons, and I think they're like 20p from Asda's, and I painted the number blocks because the children were keen on number blocks, and it supported them with their adding, it supported them with their counting, with their ordering numbers, and it cost me 20p a wooden spoon. So just something to think about there. Some of the things with the writing element, the children struggling to do their writing, it is important to remember that it is a developmental process. I know that we as teachers keep nagging parents and saying, please make sure that the children are doing the work and not the adults. And I'll go into a bit more of that a bit later on. But some of the fundamental elements of it are that the body posture, which I'm actually doing a very good body posture at the moment. So they have to sit nice and straight with their feet touching the floor and their hands on the desk. Whether they're right-handed or left-handed, it's important to have a hand on the paper and a hand holding the pencil and a firm pencil grip. So that is just a way of supporting them. It'll make it so much more comfortable for them to do their writing. If they're laying down or they're doing it on their lap or anything like that, they might enjoy it for a few minutes, but actually it will hurt their muscles more than if they're sitting correctly at the table. And it's good practice because that's how they're going to be learning to do handwriting and things as they go through the school. So here we go with regards to the grip of the pencil. Now this is something that we work very hard on in early years, and obviously you're going to be taking over some of that responsibility with them being homeschooled. So these are just the developmental stages of pencil grip. So first you've got the cylindrical grip where they're holding it as a fist. Then they sort of try to explore. They realise that they have to go down to the bottom of the pencil, but they're not quite sure how to manoeuvre their fingers. Then they realise that they've got a tripod. They've got to do it with 3 fingers, but it's sort of a modified grasp. It's still not secure. And then finally, they realise they've got the tripod grasp. The pencil's resting on their hands. They've got the 2 fingers and the thumb, and it's a much more comfortable way of them doing their writing. It is also important to remember that children do develop at different stages. Boys particularly do have slightly different feelings in their fingers, so they sometimes struggle to grasp the tripod grip initially. It's a lot harder for them. So just to bear that in mind, just keep reminding them pencil grip and remind them that we use duck grip in Cherry class. But if you just remind them pencil grip where they've got to hold it at the bottom with their 2 fingers and their thumb and having it resting on this part of their hand, that will be fantastic. So supporting children to write. Children will first begin by recognising the set 1 sounds. If any of you are joining me tomorrow for the Read Write Inc presentation, hoping I won't be as nervous tomorrow doing it, then we will go through the set 1 sounds with you then, and how the sounds are pronounced, what the importance is, and how they use those in their writing. Children will start by hearing the initial sounds in words. This is a process that they go through with their writing. Then they will hear some of the other sounds, usually in a random order, and eventually they will get the initial and the final sound in the words. Once they've done that, they will start filling in those gaps in the middle of the word, and you can start seeing a plausible attempt at the word being done. That is a fundamental term, the plausible attempt of the word. Children do need to be encouraged to use their thread fingers, and I'll go through that with you in a second, and write it down. The reason we say this is because if you do it for them and the children are copying it, yes, they get a beautifully written piece of work, but actually, one, it can knock their confidence as a writer because they're almost being told by you doing it that they're doing it wrong. And secondly, it can make them very lazy writers, and they will struggle as they go up through the school. So it is really, really, the one thing I need you to take from this is that it is fundamental that the children make those plausible attempts themselves. You can guide them, that's absolutely fine. And that can be things like using the Fred fingers and saying, oh, what sound comes next, you know, and sort of breaking that word down ever so carefully for them, but not giving it away and not writing it exactly. There has been some wonderful work sent in with us or to us. But it is just very important that you can teach them a new sound, like the E sound. Some of them might not know, but it's important that you don't write it for them. So I will just go through Fred fingers with you. I'll just check it's not on the next one. Yeah, so Fred fingers, we start off by picking a word. So I'm going to choose the word cat, just as it's nice and easy. We put our hands behind our back and we say, right, we're going to sound out the word cat. How many sounds in cat? And the children will go cat, and they'll work out that there's 3 sounds. They will then hold up 3 fingers, and you say, yes, you got 3 fingers, that's right. If they're holding up 2 fingers, just you model it and say, yeah, 3 fingers, that's brilliant. Then get them to turn it around and tickle their noses. The reason they do this is because then they are looking at the sounds, and that's what's going to help them to see and visualize that word. Then they get their squeezy fingers, and you can make that as fun as you want. We do some squeezy fingers and things like that to try and get them engaged. And then we say, right, we're going to say the word cat again and sound it out. And then they squeeze each finger for each sound of that word. So it'd be k-at, but they would be doing it like this, k-at. And then you do it a couple of times so they've got it in their head, and then they write it down. The more complex words that have got what we call the special friends, which are 2 sounds that go together to make, or 2 letters, sorry, that go together to make 1 sound, they go on 1 finger. So if I was doing the word thin, it would still be 3 fingers held up. It would be and that will help them with their writing. So practice the Fred fingers. There are some videos on YouTube, and I would encourage you to look at those YouTube videos for the phonics lessons before the literacy sessions in the morning. They are really good. They will model the Fred fingers to you and to your children. So children do develop, as I said before, at different speeds, and it is important to celebrate their stage of learning. We have a motto in the early years, and I know some of you who came to our presentation at the beginning of the year, it's that we do expect the children to make mistakes. We then look at those mistakes and then we rectify them, and we work on how we're going to do them better next time. Support the children to hear the sounds in the words, again, like using the Fred fingers. Tell them how well they're doing and get them to read it back to you. And you might have to scribe it underneath if you don't think that we're going to get what they've written, because obviously you're working with them. We would normally do that in class. So, but it is really important, that confidence boost. If a child spells one of the reception keywords, I think you've all got a copy of the reception keywords. If you haven't, just send the FSU email to us and we can send one out to you. Then we do ask that you get them to copy that out separately, because they do need to learn how to write those words, but we would get you to do it at a separate time so it doesn't interrupt their flow of speaking and writing. So if they were writing a sentence, the cat on a mat, and they spelt the wrong, rather than saying, no, you spelt that word wrong and stopping them, it's once they've written it, then you pull them aside, and then you might get them to write it a couple of times underneath just to get that practice in, but they're not going to have lost their train of thought. If you, like I said before, if you write all the words down for the children, they will lose their confidence in their ability and they will become lazy writers. So please write the words underneath, but let them have a go at making a plausible attempt. And write how they're doing. Give us a little note on the work or in the email just to let us know how the children are getting on, because we as teachers can then use that as a form of assessment. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what we expect by the end of reception for writing, because writing, maths you seem to have all mastered, and you're amazing at doing all the work, to be honest, that we're setting. But writing seems to be a little bit of an issue for getting the children to engage. So I just want to go through what the expected level is by the end of July. So children use their phonic knowledge to write words in ways which match their spoken sounds. So again, making those plausible attempts at those words. They write some irregular common words. That's basically the reception keywords, the, in, on, a, those sort of words that they're writing some of them. Not all of those 45 words need to be written correctly. It's only some of them. They write simple sentences which can be read by themselves and others, and that's why I said about getting them to read the work back to you. But a simple sentence could be something simple like a cat on a mat, that's when they're starting to emerge into that level of writing. But as they start to come out and exceed that level of writing, they will start, I'll show you on the next few slides, they will start showing some more detailed pieces of work. And some words are spelt correctly and others are phonetically plausible. So again, you know, it's about letting those children have that chance. And that is by the end of July. So when you think about the journey your children have made, they came into us, a lot of them not even knowing their sounds in September. A lot of them can read and can write CVC words now, but basically this is by the end, so they've got another sort of 6 months left of this. So we're only halfway through the journey. So here are some examples of writing. This is the expected level at the end of reception. So it says a packet of tablets and medicine and a can of medicine. The child was playing pharmacies or doctors in the classroom. And as you can see, packet is spelled P-A-C-I-T. Of spelt correctly. They haven't got a capital letter, that's not necessary. They've got full stops. They're starting to get the idea of how a sentence is structured. Tablets, you know, T-A-B-L-T-S. So they're starting to get making those plausible attempts. Medicine, M-E-D-I-S-N. So as you can see, they're sort of hearing some of those sounds. They've got the initial, they've got the final, and then they've got a few of the ones jumbled up in the middle. Here's another one. They've done it on the computer this time, and again, that's absolutely fine. The wolf came to the house, and Eleanor's done an amazing job at that. So wolf is W-O-F, came obviously is K-A-M-E. So we can see exactly they've got their split digraph, the A sound. House, you can see they've tried with the owl sound, the O-W. So you can see exactly where they're going with that. Here we've got another one. It's a bit more of a story. So this child is starting to exceed into the next level. So this is sort of at the top end of what we would expect in July. So I'll see whether I can read it. Once upon a time, there lived a boy with his mummy. He took his cow to the market. He saw an old man who, the magic beans. And yeah, so basically you can see exactly where that child is going. It's a bit faded towards the end. But they started to get the concept of the story. And again, not every word spelled correctly. Even mummy, which is a familiar word to them, M-U-M-Y, and that's absolutely fine. So just how we set up the day to support the children, we have obviously sent you a timetable that is very flexible. We appreciate you have got an awful lot going on at home. We know that a lot of you are juggling work at home, other children, other commitments, and it's not easy. In a school, it's much, much easier to keep to a timetable, but this is just a guide for you. So registration and phonics, in the class, they will be doing a register. And the phonics videos, I would say, is a really nice warm-up. They're only 10 minutes, a really nice warm-up ready for the literacy session. A bit of a break, you know, a bit of active play, let them have a bit of a downtime until the Zoom session. We do ask, obviously, I know that sometimes it's a bit harder to get the children engaged in the Zoom, even if they only come on for 10 minutes. It's good for us to see them, for them to see their friends, and it keeps them in that routine of, you know, school life and seeing us. Literacy work time. Now, we have put half an hour for this, but we don't expect you to sit the children down for half an hour. The reason we've allocated it is so that you've got a bit more freedom with your time. Children should only at this age be working for about 10-15 minutes at a time. If you can't finish it off by then, feel free to obviously add to that time, come back to it another point, but we would only expect 10-15 minute chunks of actually sitting down and writing. Obviously the maths work activity afterwards, that's usually quite a nice quick one. Physical, again, you could go out for a walk, you could get them to run on a travelator if you've got one at home. And we do ask that you do read with them every single day. I know that some of them had books, and unfortunately we can't change books at the moment if the children were reading, but the Oxford Owl website has got loads and loads, hundreds of ebooks, and you are more than welcome to access those. They're completely free. And we've also got on the drive, there are the ditties as well. So if children are starting to begin to blend, they are a really, really good tool for you to use in order to start the children reading. So please, we do ask that you do read with them once a day. It can be 10 minutes, can be 15 minutes. It's whatever your children can do, but it is very, very important that is maintained. So some of the things, I get to stop talking in a minute, some of the things to take from this presentation: let the children have fun with learning. It is a process, and although we have high expectations of the children, they can be managed through a balance of play and learning through children's interests. I've had some amazing work, and I know so has Mrs. Cullen, where we've set worksheets and drawing activities, and children have done it through different ways, such as photographs. And I mean, I had one today, and it was the sheet that they had to do for their maths, where they had the tunnels, and they'd actually cut out photos of themselves, and they'd use those to put on the tunnels and things. So we are happy for you to be creative, as long as the objective is met. That's absolutely fine. And as long as children are practicing their mark making, their writing once a day, then that is fine as well. So let the children take the lead within reason, and let them write and learn from their mistakes. So just guide them gently, support them with small steps to success. So be aware not to overwhelm them by expecting them to work for 40 minutes. I know sometimes it's harder sort of said than done, or easier said than done, sorry, but the children must have breaks in between. Their concentration at this age is a lot smaller than some of the older children's. So literally 10, 15 minutes, I've put 10 to 20 there, but again, I would expect a small break in between that. Have fun and enjoy the experience of watching your child blossom into a magnificent learner. They've done amazingly so far, and I actually can't tell you how proud we are of the children. They have done phenomenally well. So thank you for all of your hard work at home. It really is appreciated. So I'm just going to have a little look at the chat box. I know Mrs. Cullen has been very kindly answering those for me, but I know I've got a couple. Feel free to ask any questions now in the chat box, and we can go through those. So obviously the muscles and things in hands, I know that sometimes children can say that it aches, and as adults, if we've sat all day doing the computer screen and then all of a sudden we're having to write, it's like, oh, my hand's really achy now. Lots of fine motor skill activities. Play-Doh is fantastic for fine motor skills. Cutting Play-Doh, squidging it. Dough Disco on YouTube is amazing. The children love it. There's some really funky songs as well. So a bit of Pharrell Williams and things like that. And the children love squeezing it and watching it ooze out of their fingers, rolling it, and they are all fantastic for developing those hand muscles. So let me have a quick look down here. With regards to dominant hands, some children have a dominant hand, basically the hand they've chosen to write with, some don't. That's absolutely fine. They're still learning, and that's a developmental process throughout this year. We have, I believe, put on the Google Drive the expectations and the targets that the children need by the end of the year. But if you look on the internet at Development Matters, that is a fantastic, that's what we use. That is the curriculum that we use in school. And there are sections, you've got literacy, and then there's a section of writing in that. And that basically will give you all of the targets under 40 to 60 months that they need to get by the end of the year. And then there's a bold section in each area, which is the early learning goal, which is what they need to achieve at the end of the year, ready for their year one curriculum. So Development Matters, I would say, is brilliant for any information that you need. So don't panic if they've not got a dominant hand yet, that's absolutely fine. But lots and lots of Dough Disco, lots and lots of Play-Doh, putting money in piggy banks, that's a really good one because it's developing that pincer grip and that control. Paper clips, pegging out your washing, you know, don't do it yourselves, make the children do it with you, you know. It's a brilliant tool to get them to actually, because it's quite hard to do if you sit there with just a finger and a thumb, and to actually do that continually, it is quite tricky to do. So yeah, get them to do the washing for you. Bear with me a second. So just to let you know as well, obviously I will go through some of the phonics side of things tomorrow during the Read Write Ink presentation, but there are so many handwriting worksheets on the drive. As I said before, the photocopiable ditties, please do use them, and Phonics Play is amazing as well. But I would say take from this, we really would like you to start using the Read Write Ink lessons that are on the YouTube, because ultimately when they come back to school, and obviously it will be a when, not an if, we do Read Write Ink, and it will be for quite a considerable amount of time. It's usually about 30 minutes. So that just keeps them in that routine of what's expected in a Read Write Ink session. So please do encourage them. They will be mostly at set 1 level, the children. But obviously I know that we have emailed some parents to say these are the letters that you need to focus on. So if you're confused or you're not sure what letter your children should be focusing in on, please do just give us an email and we can give you an exact level for your child. Just scrolling down. I think that's probably most of the stuff that I needed to get through today. Has anybody got anything? Be really, really kind here. Has anybody got anything that they would really like to ask, but didn't want to type it down and just wanted to sort of put it out there? No, you're all happy with that side of things. On the Google Drive, not on the Google Drive, sorry, on the YouTube channel, I have put a video up tonight, which is how to pronounce the set 1, set 2 and set 3 sounds correctly, because that is really fundamental that the children pronounce those correctly, because otherwise that can alter the way that they write. So for instance, cat, quite a lot of the children say t rather than t, and if they're writing t and they're sounding out, it's actually ter. So you could get a completely random word and it makes it a lot harder to actually read and for them to write it. So making sure that those sounds are correctly pronounced, that would be a fantastic help to us. But if there's no other questions, obviously feel free to contact us. We've got the normal methods of Facebook, Twitter, the emails, phone calls and the Zooms. And I think Mrs. Cullen's got a question. She's got her hand up. Got it, Mrs. Cullen?
Well, it's not a question as such, it's just talking about the sounds and getting them to pronounce the sounds. I would say the common one, and I don't know if I missed this when I was picking up my Amazon parcel, but th, T and H, th. Just making sure, looking at the way their mouth is formed when they're pronouncing it, but a lot of them are saying th for flower. So encouraging them to put their tongue, tip of their tongue on their top teeth and then blow to make the sound th. It's quite common, but it obviously helps when they're writing out their words, because sometimes they're writing the wrong sounds. So just putting it out there.
Just one more quick thing. I know that obviously we have got some children that sort of say, I can't do it, and they will try and pull the wool over your eyes, because obviously you're not in school with them all the time, the same as they tell us things about what you're doing at home with them and try and pull the wool over our eyes at the same way. It is important that I know that you might find different methods. You might practice writing a word using the paintbrush, you might practice it with Play-Doh. That's absolutely fine if that helps with the spelling side of things, but I would still encourage the writing, especially at this point, because although we are only halfway through the journey, on the same flip side, we are halfway through the journey and they've got a long way to go to meet that target at the end of the year. So do keep practicing that writing. It is a challenge sometimes. We have the same challenges in school. And going back to those behaviour management techniques that I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to do 10 minutes of this or 5 minutes of this, whatever suits your child, and we'll come back to it afterwards, give them a bit of a break. But yeah, do keep the writing up, that would be lovely. So if there's no other questions, I think I will end it there. Thank you so much for coming along. Any questions, just let us know tomorrow, and hopefully I'll see most of you tomorrow for Read Write Inc. So thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.